January 31st, 1988, Super Bowl 22. The Washington Redskins are dismantling the Denver Broncos in a 42-10 blowout. For football fans, a lopsided score is boring. For advertisers, it is a financial disaster. When a game is effectively over by the third quarter, millions of viewers tune out, making those expensive late-game commercial slots worthless. August Busch III, the demanding CEO of Anheuser-Busch, watched exactly that happen to his company's ad spend. He had just spent a fortune on commercials that millions of people missed. This left Busch with a problem. If you can't guarantee a close game, how do you keep a massive audience from changing the channel when the commercials start? Shortly after the game, creatives at the Darcy, Macias, Benton & Bowles ad agency were summoned to Busch's headquarters. The mood was icy. It was described as a meeting where nobody dared to speak until the boss opened his mouth. Busch delivered a specific ultimatum. He wanted to crush his main competitor, Miller, and move beyond simply buying ads. He wanted Anheuser-Busch to own the broadcast itself. He gave the agency a blank check and exactly 1 year to develop a marketing vehicle that didn't yet exist. The task was to go beyond making a humorous 30-second spot. The agency had to engineer a reason for viewers to prioritize the commercial breaks over the actual football game. Working in his garage, creative director Bill Oakley began to experiment. He took a scrap of AstroTurf, bought a handful of plastic gumball machine helmets, and jimmied them onto glass beer bottles. His pitch was a football game played between bottles of Bud and Bud Light. The narrative would be broken into sequential segments and aired across the entire Super Bowl broadcast. Busch approved a $6 million budget, splitting the funds between production costs and an aggressive move to buy exclusive beer advertising rights. This effectively locked Miller out of the Super Bowl entirely. This wasn't a standard ad buy, it was a monopolistic tactic. By securing exclusivity, Anheuser-Busch ensured their brands would be the only beers discussed on Monday morning. Bringing the bottles to life required painstaking effort. In 1988, stop-motion animation took 8 to 12 hours of meticulous labor just to produce 3 seconds of usable footage. While animators made millimeter-scale adjustments, writers filled legal pads with beer-related puns. They invented a world where crowds experienced canned ammonium and played for a coach named Beer Bryant. They designed bottle characters to mirror real NFL stars. Team Bud featured the Freezer, a massive 40-ounce bottle named in honor of the Chicago Bears' William Perry. A major corporate gamble involving millions of dollars and executive reputations now rested on the performance of glass bottles in tiny helmets. To secure the audience's attention, Anheuser-Busch turned the ads into a game. They placed official scorecards in 12 packs of beer and offered a $100,000 prize to fans who tracked the scores of each commercial segment. When Bud Bowl 1 debuted in 1989, it featured legitimate sports announcers like Bob Costas to lend a sense of professional weight to the absurdity. The agency wanted the Bud Bowl to end with a prank, abruptly cutting the feed to the movie Heidi right before the winning kick. Network executives, still embarrassed by the actual 1968 Heidi game incident, blocked the move. The results were immediate. The agency began receiving reports of Super Bowl parties where the room went quiet the moment the beer bottles appeared, with viewers more focused on the scorecard than the real athletes. The campaign sold massive amounts of beer, but it also trapped the agency. What was intended as a one-time stunt was so successful that Anheuser-Busch demanded unplanned sequels for the next 8 years. Throughout the 1990s, the production escalated. The bottles eventually transitioned to CGI, the prize pool reached $1 million, and the games featured transforming beer trucks. The brand also upgraded the cast. They began hiring legendary coaches like Mike Ditka and Joe Namath to appear on screen, treating the animated bottles as actual professional players. Over time, the strategy became a victim of its own reach. The clever hack that once surprised viewers eventually turned into an expected pop culture gimmick. The Bud Bowl finally faded out by 1997, but it had accomplished something rare. It had managed to hold on to the public's attention, even while Joe Montana was leading legendary game-winning drives. The industry took note. The campaign proved that commercials didn't have to be a passive interruption. They could be treated as part of the night's entertainment. Anheuser-Busch's 1989 strategy set a precedent for every major brand that followed. Today, the Super Bowl commercials are treated as their own show, separate from the football game that surrounds them.